And welcome into a Friday edition of Game Time Decisions right here on SportsGrid. I'm Scott Wetzel alongside Tom Vecchio. We'll take you over the next 60 minutes as we preview the action tonight. We got baseball, a little WNBA, and then we got a little soccer over the weekend we can be talking about as well over the next hour right here on SportsGrid. What's going on, Tom? How are you this fabulous Friday?
I'm doing well. Baseball's back. We had the one game yesterday, which kind of seemed unnecessary, but we're back to a full slate today. A ton to get through. We already have seen the Pirates and Guardians game get postponed due to air quality. Like you said, otherwise than that, it's a full slate. We can touch on the FIFA, the third place game, and the FIFA World Cup final. The Open Championship is going on. We got some WNBA, we got some Summer League. There's a little bit of everything.
All right, let's start off with our picks, and then we can kind of break it all down. I'll go first here, Tom. I'm going to play a system that's 1-1 so far, and that is unders in these baseball games today. And here's my thinking, right? Most of these pitchers haven't pitched in about a week, right? Even if they pitched last Sunday, last day of the last games of the first half of the season, right? That leaves Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're into Friday. That's 5 days. And if they didn't pitch Sunday, chances are they probably pitch Friday or Saturday, but that's about a week. So my thinking is that these managers are going to be pulling these starters quicker today than they normally would. And we all know they pull them quick anyway, just to get these guys into the rotation, back on the groove. And old school, that would be betting overs. So great. They're going to the bullpen, Scott. Let's bet the overs, right? Not anymore. Now the bullpen guys are better than the starters. That's why whenever you have a bullpen by committee game, you end up getting a 3-2 or 4-3 game, right? So I'm thinking that's going to lead to a bunch of unders tonight. So I got 4 that I penciled. I'm going to play them all, but, I got the 4 best that I think are going to happen. I like the under 9 Dodgers, Yankees. Both teams are monster under teams. We'll get to the stats in a little bit, but believe it or not, the Yankees and Dodgers are both. The Yankees are the 5th best under team, 5th most, and the Dodgers are 6th, believe it or not. So give me the under Yankees, Dodgers. I'm going to take the under Tampa Bay, Boston. First game went over, day-night doubleheader. I don't think they're getting to 10 runs 2 games in a row. Love the under 8.5 Texas and Atlanta Braves. I don't think, especially with Chris Sale, he might be one of the pitchers that does get a little bit extra leash. But I don't think, that we're going to get to 9 runs there. I like the under San Diego, Texas game. It's 10. That's suspiciously high for me. Well, why is the Texas Ranger game 10? San Diego's a good under team as well. And then the last one for me on the board, you see there, give me the Seattle Storm. I know they stink. They're the worst team in the WNBA, but they're also 6-3 against the spread their last 9 games. So they've been covering games, and Indiana 4-2 straight up against the spread. We know all the controversy with Caitlin Clark. We can get into that a little bit. But I think Seattle, nationally televised game, will put out a good effort tonight, and that means covering. Probably don't win, but I'll take the 9.5. Give me the Storm plus 9.5 tonight. What do you like tonight?
All right, so a lot of unders for you. I'm turning to a couple player props. One of them is, I guess, would be along the same line of thinking. And then, the pitchers could be getting pulled early. I'm going to turn to Tigers at Angels and going to Troy Milton, the Tiger starter, under 17.5 outs recorded, minus 125. He's been great this year. There's no doubt that looking at his surface level stats, they've been great, but he is getting so lucky. And just to put things into context, his 1.82 ERA is phenomenal. But when we look at his underlying metrics, his xFIP is at 3.91 and his Sierra is at 3.93. So he's due for some massive regression. Also, one of those factors that I like to look at is his left on base percentage. How often do pitchers get out of jams, right? His is up at 96.3% this year, Scott. Last season, he posted an 86. The league average this season is at 72. The league average is at 72. He's at 96. And just to give some people some context about this, Jacob Mizorowski for the Brewers, Scott, his number, left on base percentage this year, is 81. 81.9% to be exact. Troy Milton's at 96%. Troy Milton's not as good as Mizorowski. No disrespect to Troy Milton. He's putting up a good season, but you can't sustain this for this long of a time. So his underlying metrics put him in a spot that he's due for regression. I'm not saying the Angels are some amazing team, but he's just not going to be out there for 6 full innings. I like J.J. Weatherholt for 2+ hit, run, RBI, any combination of 2. It's a little bit of juice, but I like it. He's going up against Merrill Kelly and the Diamondbacks. They have a terrible bullpen, and we just need any of the two, right? So you give me a player that does not strike out a lot, who puts the ball in play. They can be sac flies, they can be walks that turn into runs. I don't care. And then the Rays money line game 2, it's at even money. We're getting a team as good as the Rays are to not lose both games of the doubleheader. This is what I generally do, especially when it comes to in-division doubleheaders. Team A loses, game 1. I'll take Team A to win game 2, especially when we're getting a pretty awesome price at one of the best teams in the league. I think it's very simple coming out of the break, Scott. You are sticking with some unders. I'm saying these teams aren't going to do this. This player is going to do this. Very straightforward to start things off.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good way to approach it. I didn't really think about that, but maybe that would have been a better way than just taking the unders, and that is just play the under starting pitcher outs. Because
Right.
and I love the one you pointed out with Melton. If this is a guy that gets into trouble all the time and does a great job getting out of it, but if he gets into trouble all the time, has a lot of base runners, I can't help but think, go back to the original premise. All right, we got to get these bullpen guys in here. We can't have these guys sitting around for a week. We just can't do it. So he would, you would think, have the quick hook tonight. So, but maybe that's the way to better approach rather than just bet unders in the game. Go with the total outs for the starting pitchers and bet unders. I bet, it's too much work for me right now, but I bet, Tom, that you take the 30 starting pitchers today, because you had the Red Sox play day night doubleheader, so we did have 15 games. I bet you when everything is said and done, you'll have a way more under starting pitcher out than overs tonight.
Yeah, that's a great way to go about it. Pitchers, to your point, they can go a week without starting and be fine, but a reliever going a full week is a different story.
Right.
Even if a reliever gets in every other day, he only pitches 10 pitches, 12 pitches, whatever it's going to be, he's still in there every second day, every third day. A pitcher can go a week, but it's more about keeping the team in a spot that the entire team is, humming and firing on all cylinders. You can't have just great stars and horrible bullpen that needs another week and a half to get back up to speed as we're approaching the trade deadline. Like, it's crunch time for these teams. Everyone needs to be clicking. So I like that. I will say that we're dealing with some hot weather and we're dealing with some wind in a lot of spots. So just keep in mind on your eye on that, everyone out there, that we are dealing with some very hot weather.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised. I don't know the rules and regulations for the 4-letter network, but the reason we had a Mets-Phillies game, I thought it was the whole time a makeup game. Without thinking, okay, there must be a makeup game and, two teams in proximity of each other. It turned out, no, it's actually part of the 4-letter network's contract that they got a separated game, that isolated game, and they chose those two teams. Maybe the proximity of New York and Philadelphia played a little role in that, but it seems to me they could have chose Dodgers and Yankees. Now that would suck for the Dodgers because they're on the West Coast, but boy, give me Dodgers, Yankees versus Mets and Philadelphia. Even if the Mets were good this year, and they counted on that, there'd be more people interested in Dodgers, Yankees than Mets, Phillies. But anyway, we got Dodgers and Yankees 3-game series. First one tonight. Dodgers best record in baseball, 30-17 on the road. That's the best record in baseball. It's funny, Tom. I'm one of those that thought they would win 110 games this year if they really tried, and they're not on that pace. They've had, it sounds strange to say, but a little bit of a disappointing season in that they're not just the greatest things in the world, but they still have the best record in baseball. They've had the best record on the road, 30-17. Limped home a little bit, 1-4. Last 5 games, get swept by Arizona at home. But Dodgers and Yankees tonight. What do you think of that one?
This one, I would say, listen, if you like betting the Dodgers, this is the best time to bet them. Like, this is one of the best prices the entire season you're going to get on the Dodgers. Granted, Roki Sasaki has not been good, and Garrett Cole is good enough on the other side. It's also just a risk thing. Like, they're never going to put the Yankees as minus 200 favorites when they're facing the Dodgers because the math would make sense. And they'd be up at a plus 150 price, and it would just be too much of a liability for the books to have the Dodgers that big of a price. But if you like the Dodgers, bet them at near even money this entire weekend, and you'll probably come out ahead.
Yeah, you said it. You'll never see these numbers ever again. Yankees 1-7 their last 8 games at home. Only 23-20 at home this year, which is amazing. I will run down all the other games. Just getting underway. Game time decisions on a fabulous Friday right here on the grid.
He gives them a chance, but they've got to keep putting people around him. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know that he's the one that elevates you all by himself. I think he still needs the help. Excellent player, perfect guy to lead your organization. perfect place for it. And by the way, I'd start him from day one. I wouldn't waste any time on it. But got to put pieces around him, and John Spytek has already started doing that.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
This is the third time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done.
Yeah.
He's
stop jumping.
He's on the turf, like you said, like he's like driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
All right, welcome back. It is Game Time Decisions on a Friday. Scott Wetzel, Tom Vecchio for the next 50 minutes or so. Running down to baseball. We got some soccer to get to with the consolation game being tomorrow, and then obviously the championship game on Sunday here at the Meadowlands. And we were just talking in the break about the weather. Whereas yesterday, the smog, if you want to call it that, whatever, down from Canada, it was bad. Tom, we were talking in the break. It's like, you hear about that stuff, right? Well, whatever. How bad can it be? It's freaking 1,000 miles away, right? So I go outside around 4:35, go run some errands, and I thought there was a local fire. It was so bad here in Long Island. I mean, I really thought it was like a local fire, and lo and behold, no, this was the stuff coming down from the smoke from the fires in Canada. Today, not bad. So I'm assuming tomorrow will be even better over in New Jersey and Friday or Sunday for sure. But if that's what's causing the air quality in Cleveland for this Pirate Cleveland Guardians game to be canceled, I'm guessing it is. That's crazy when you think about how far away that is, where the smog can be this bad.
We saw the Mets Phillies game from yesterday. They actually pushed up the start time because it was going to get later worse on, throughout the night. And this is probably going to be an impact for the final on Sunday for Spain, Argentina at the Meadowlands. It's probably an issue, I would say, for both days this weekend, at least maybe into Monday, depending on where the MLB games that is throughout the country all weekend. Delayed starts, early starts, postponements, whatever it's going to be. These teams are going to have to make up these games at some point. So I'm assuming if it's good to go tomorrow, the Guards and Pirates will have a doubleheader just because they need to. It's not often that these teams play. It's not like, Guards, Tigers, they can make it up later in the year. We are running out of time, but keep that in mind. Maybe this does lean towards unders just because the players are not, at full health just because they have to deal with the elements. But it could be a big impact. I'm most interested in the World Cup final because if that is the players running out there, Scott, it's not just like, a pitcher or a hitter just go up and swing hard for 30 or 40 seconds. Like, they're going to be out there running for 90 minutes. Like, how does that impact them? Or are we just going to be looking at very few scoring chances in a very low-scoring game?
Yeah. I mean, they couldn't realistically move the game at this point, right? So, and listen, if it's affected, you'd have to move it all the way to the West Coast, if it's affecting Cleveland right now. So
I assume that the people that have tickets, like, they got to be worried about, like, you paid X amount of money to have the tickets there. They could delay the game, but moving it, I think, would be out of the question at this point.
What would they delay, like a couple of days, or would they delay it? They want to put it on a weekend, right? Boxes are paid a gazillion dollars.
You want Sunday at 3 p.m. just because you get the premium time for the European market. You have to move it to Monday at 3 p.m. I mean, granted, obviously people are going to tune in. It's the World Cup final. It's a world event, but it's not nearly as good as a Sunday.
Right. Amazing. Since we're talking about this, let me throw something at you. You're probably too young to remember, but there used to be a third place college basketball game, believe it or not. When they went to the Final Four, you had the semifinals. The two losers would then play in a third place game. And I think that ended in the 1980s, I want to say, but they got rid of it just because they thought, okay, well, they're not interested. They came here to win a national championship. And I always liked it. It's something to bet on, right? When I was younger. So why not? Um, I wonder, Ty, you follow soccer a lot more than I do. Is there any intensity for this third place game? Do these teams who, again, same thing, the premise is they want to win a championship, they want to win the World Cup, and now they got to play some dopey third place game? Like, who cares? Is it a normal bet? I know they have friendlies, but even those tend to mean something more than what this would.
I would say, if you're going to be betting on anything, you want to make sure you get the confirmed starting lineups. Mbappe for France is still going for the Golden Boot, so the game counts just as much. Whether there's a final, third place game, doesn't matter. So he has a chance to win the Golden Boot, which would be huge. The third place and fourth place teams get paid from FIFA, so winning the World Cup, grants a team X amount of money. There's a chance that we see some younger players in. So we may not see Harry Kane. We may not see, again, I think Mbappe is going to play, but that we may not see Jude Bellingham for a full 90 minutes. They may just play in the first half. So if you're betting on that or player props, I would be wary of the starting lineups and just be under the assumption that the star players may not be playing a full game.
Wow. So you say that Harry Kane might not actually play for England? I mean, just like completely yeah, I don't. So there does seem to be a little bit of malaise about this game then.
Yeah, if he plays a full 90, I would be surprised. Again, if I'm going to bet on it, I want to make sure I have both starting lineups confirmed, which usually come out about 90 minutes beforehand. I want both starting lineups confirmed. And then I'm going to take some reasonable shots with players. I think would still look to Mbappe just because he is going for the Golden Boot. But if he gets it a goal in the first half, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't come out in the second half at all, just because they're in a spot to win and he gets his goal and you go from there.
How long, has there been any buzz about eliminating the third place game in the World Cup?
Or it's still a rivalry, right? Like France, England's always been a rival. They've always been rivals. They don't like each other. So there's still
they got this year, yes, but it could have been, pick two other countries that don't care about each other.
I think there'll still be some intensity just because this is the result that we had. If we had in England, Argentina, there's obviously historic, rivalries there. If it was France, Spain, there's still a, border rivalry there. So there's always going to be something that the teams and the players want to play for. And really, this is a chance for players that may be younger that have a chance to solidify themselves to be on the next international roster because they have Euros coming up in 2 years and then World Cup qualifying for the next World Cup, which is going to be in Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. So players still want to be there and get the international caps under their belt.
Yeah. I meant to look this up. I did for the championship game on Ticketmaster earlier this week. Tickets were being listed for. Now, you can list for anything, as I always remind people. It doesn't mean you're really selling them. But the cheapest priced into Giant Stadium for the championship game was over $8,000. I saw tickets as high as $38,000 as well. Like the $8,000 is way upstairs, like lousy seats, right? So maybe one of the breaks, I'll take a look and see what the semifinal, the losers game is going for. I bet it's still a lot. I bet the fans still care. Like you said, I bet the fans probably tend to care about it maybe a little bit more than the players do. So I bet it's still $1,000 to get in. I would think here in New Jersey. Right.
No, the semifinal that's I believe that's in Miami. It might be. I'm not sure if they're in the same spot. I'm pretty sure that one's in Miami. So there's still an environment for fans to want to see their teams, but again, the hype around it may just be a little bit lower.
You're right, Miami. My bad. I thought they were both over in Jersey. So France, England, in Miami Gardens. So Hard Rock Stadium, otherwise known as Miami Stadium or Florida Stadium, whatever, they're not calling it Hard Rock officially. Yeah. So, all right. So France and England. Yeah, they used to have a college basketball third place game and they got rid of it just because people seemingly weren't interested in it. I was though, like I said, but I understand why the players probably not. Let's run down a couple more baseball games. White Sox in Toronto. Pretty good matchup there. We talk about disappointing teams. You always mention the Mets and some of the others. Well, I tell you, the Blue Jays in the American League, they're the version of the Mets that goes to the World Series last year, and now they're in last place. We'll break it down on the other side when we come back. Game time decisions on a Friday here on the Grid.
He gives them a chance, but they've got to keep putting people around him. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know that he's the one that elevates you all by himself. I think he still needs the help. Excellent player, perfect guy to lead your organization, perfect place for it. And by the way, I'd start him from day one. I wouldn't waste any time on it. But got to put pieces around him, and John Spytek has already started doing that.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
This is the third time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done.
Yeah.
He's
stop jumping.
He's on the turf, like you said, like he's like driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day, de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
All right, welcome back. Game time decisions here on a Friday, getting you set for a big night. Baseball is back. A little reprieve yesterday with the one game, but for the most part, all the others are tonight. So, including White Sox and Toronto Blue Jays. And we were discussing it, before we left you there. Toronto last place in the AL East, an out away or so from winning the World Series last year. And now they can't get out of their own shadow. They're 6-12 their last 18 games heading into the break. So nothing is really pointing up with this Blue Jay team outside of just the potential that they have. And meanwhile, they're taking on one of the darlings of Major League Baseball, the Chicago White Sox. I mean, who in their right mind? I don't know, even White Sox fans thought they would be this good. 50-45, first place, K on the hill versus it's a bullpen by committee game. This guy Miles is a reliever for the Toronto Blue Jays. So this is like one of those good under spots in my world. So K versus Miles. White Sox, a surprise team against Blue Jays, Tom, disappointing team.
Yeah, really disappointing is putting it, lightly. Really, really bad season from the Blue Jays. Everyone wants to say, it's a bit of a World Series hangover, but this is, I think, a bit further than anyone would have imagined. And really the same thing is said about the White Sox. Like, yeah, the White Sox, couldn't be possibly as bad as they were the past few years. But this is also a little bit further in terms of them doing well than I think anyone would possibly imagine. I like the White Sox in the spot. I think looking to the Blue Jays and consistently laying money on them, laying juice at a minus 136 or so price, 134 at this point, price them, I don't like. And when we have a team as high as the White Sox, I'll take the plus money with them. I would bet the plus money in this series on either side the entire weekend and just see if you come out net positive. If I don't know who's, honestly, off the top of my head, I don't know who's pitching for the White Sox tomorrow, but if the White Sox were even money or better tomorrow, I'd bet them again. And if it was flipped on Sunday, just give me the plus money on both sides this weekend, game by game.
Yeah. Bottom line is, like, neither team really deserves to be favorites. Whether it's White Sox on the road or the Blue Jays at this point, being in last place. So I agree with you there. Second game of a doubleheader. I know you like Tampa Bay in this one. Day-night doubleheader with the Rays and Red Sox. The Red Sox winning the opener 10-0. Boy, I tell you what, they are 15-2, Tom. Their last 17 games. Obviously. Playing great ball. I can't bet against them, even though they do play better on the road than they do at home. They're only minus 132. They got this guy Rivera pitching. I don't know if this is his major league debut. No, not a major league debut, but 0-0. So only one other game, and that was earlier this month. So Red Sox and Tampa Bay. I can't bet against the Red Sox, even though I'm already, I say that as a Red Sox fan and realistically just the way they're playing.
Yeah, the Red Sox are super hot with the win earlier today. That gives them 10 in a row. They were super hot, before the break. And, when I was talking with, Craig Mish doing Pro Baseball today, was saying, like, well, the teams that don't want the break to come around, the Red Sox are probably high on that list. They're rolling right now. You don't want to take a break. We see it happen in other sports. But I like the Rays. We're getting one of the best teams in baseball at plus money. Yes, Mason Englert on the mound for them is not some name brand pitcher. It's not McClanahan. It's not Rasmussen, who's, both their, top end pitchers. But I will take the Rays in the totality that they have between the pitching, the managing, the hitting, the great bullpen that they have, getting Brian Baker on the back end against the Red Sox, who are due for some regression. Like teams, especially in baseball, that can be such a variant sport. Going on 10-game win streaks, I think, is a bit much. Even teams going on 6-7-game win streaks is also a bit much there. So I'll take the Rays at plus money.
All right. That same kind of falls into that same category as far as coming back to the means, and that's Texas at Atlanta. Braves, believe it or not, the Braves have played awful baseball, Tommy. They had that great start. They were 24 games over 500 at one point. They're 10-19 their last 29 games, including 7-13 their last 20. They just can't seem to get out of that funk, and it just seems like they're coming back to the means. Texas, on the other hand, playing good ball, entering the break, 11-5 their last 16. Just a couple of games, though, over 500. And I think that's basically what they probably will be, a 500 team. I love and we'll get into this a little bit later on. I love the Atlanta Braves under team total for the rest of the season because I just think they're not going to go 10-19 every 29 games, but I don't think they're that team that was 24 games over 500 either. So, but Chris Sale's on the hill as far as tonight's game goes. I don't bet against Chris Sale. Give me the Braves.
So the Braves, like I said, to the point they've been pretty terrible. The money line for them is minus 215. If you're saying, hey, I just want to get Chris Sale action, first 5 money line is minus 230. Still a bit much, but if you look to the first 5 run line and you want to lay that half run, it's minus 148. And that's me just betting on Chris Sale, and the offense can get 1 run across the board, hopefully. All right, you give me the 1 run in Chris Sale, I'll take a minus 148 price compared to minus 230.
Yeah, I like that too. And then that's with the bullpen coming into play and all the other stuff that you don't know what's going to happen in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. If you really want to bet Sale, that's the way to go. It's worth a couple of extra cents. So I agree with you there on that one. So, all right, quick little break. We got a bunch more to get to. Right, we're taking a break here, fellas?
Mm-hmm.
I would think.
We
yes,
are.
no, maybe. We are, right? All right, here we go. All right, we'll take a look at the other games when we come back. Game time decisions here on the grid.
He gives them a chance, but they've got to keep putting people around him. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know that he's the one that elevates you all by himself. I think he still needs the help. Excellent player, perfect guy to lead your organization, perfect place for it. And by the way, I'd start him from day one. I wouldn't waste any time on it. But got to put pieces around him, and John Spytek has already started doing that.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
This is the 3rd time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done.
Yeah.
He's
stop jumping.
He's on the turf, like you said, like he's like driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
All right, welcome back. Game Time Decisions here on a Friday. Scott Wetzel, Tom Vecchio for another half hour, running down what the action we have for tonight as baseball is back. We got Miami and Milwaukee next up on our baseball slate here, Tom. How about the Miami Marlins, man? I like this team. I really, you know, a lot of times people will say, yeah, I never bet them. You know, I should bet them. I should bet them. Actually, I've been betting the Marlins. I really have. I've capitalized on them over the last couple of weeks. One of the hottest teams. In fact, the hottest team. They had the best record in the month of June in baseball, and then to close out July as well. I've just been on fire. 12-6 their last 18. They're winning on the road a little bit more. 8-3 their last 11 road games. You got Milwaukee that's been a pleasant surprise, even though they really shouldn't be a surprise anymore. But they just keep on. Everyone seems to think they're going to fall off the map every offseason and every regular season. There they are, second best record in the National League. Good under team is Milwaukee, 51-43-2. So Alcantara's on the hill for the Marlins tonight. Give me Miami.
Yeah, I would certainly look towards Miami, especially at that price at -130. But if I'm going anywhere in this game, it's the under. Just a lack of scoring. The Brewers kind of scuffled a little bit towards the end, right before the All-Star break. Their offense was a little bit up and down. I can't really trust Logan Henderson to get too deep into the game. And I'm also still a little bit wary on the Brewers' bottom portion of their lineup. When the top hits, they can certainly get runs across the board, but I'm just not sold on their offense overall. And the same thing can be said about Miami. The top few hitters that they have between Hicks, Lopez, and Edwards, I really do like, but the bottom can leave a little bit to be desired. Give me an under in this one.
All right. Minnesota and the Cubbies. Minnesota, an interesting team. They're one of the best over teams in baseball. 54-37-6 over, but 6-1 under their last 7. So pick the trend that you like. 6-2 their last 8. They're kind of hanging around the awful AL Central, right around 500. Cubs are one of those teams where I just told you, right? I capitalized on Miami. Every time I bet the Cubs, they do the opposite. Whether it's win or lose, they look just so lethargic sometimes. And I'll bet them and they'll lose. And I'm like, man, I'm never betting them ever again. And believe it or not, they're 14-5 their last 19 games. They're actually playing good ball. They're within striking distance of Milwaukee in the Central. But I can't, this is kind of a stay away game. The over under is let me just double check. Yeah, it's 11. That tells me, even with Ober and Ray on the hill, the wind must be blowing out at Wrigley. And I've been there enough times to know if that wind is blowing out, you could have Warren Spahn and Bob Gibson, and that game's going over. It just is. So I'd be a little leery about the under in this one.
I would be too. 11 with the wind whipping out at Wrigley is always a big deal. And to your point, the Cubs are just a streaky team. Right? They're super streaky. They go through 10, 15 game stretches where they're absolutely on fire. Then they're going to have a 10, 15 game stretch where they can't seemingly get on base and the pitchers are terrible. And it does make them a tough team to bet, especially when they're at home, because they're always going to be booked as a favorite. They're always going to be a super public team just because it's the Cubs. They're a name brand at this point. But I don't want to be laying this type of price with Colin right now. I've been on the record of saying I think, what's the opposite of thinking the world of someone? The opposite of that is what I think of Bailey Ober. He's terrible. He's a terrible pitcher. I think the absolute opposite of the world of him. He could give up 6 runs by himself. So if I'm leaning anywhere in this game, I hate to do it. 11's a huge number, but I can't possibly bet the under against a pitcher like Bailey Ober, who should not have a job in the MLB.
All right. I kind of feel the same way about Dean Kremer pitching for Baltimore tonight, all right, against Houston, who is basically pick them at home. Are they after you see they're -116? They're playing a little bit better baseball. They had the awful start, all the injuries, that they gotten healthy. And then, again, later on, we'll go over some team totals here next segment. I like their team total over. I think they're going to turn things around here second half. I don't generally, believe it or not, bet starting pitchers. I bet series. And you're going to give me Houston, pick them at home against one of the worst teams in Baltimore on the road. Give it the Astros.
Yeah, Peter Lambert has been a pretty good story for the Astros this season. The Orioles are a team that I had much more hope for them coming into the season. I thought they'd be a team that we could be constantly cashing overs with that offense, constantly looking at player props for them, and it just hasn't come to fruition. I think Peter Lambert's a pretty good pitcher for the Astros, and I think he can kind of keep the Orioles offense, which isn't much to begin with. I think he can keep them in check. The over-under, seen an 8.5 with plus 100 on the under, at least I'm seeing right now on FanDuel, and a little bit of juice to the over. Minus 122. I don't love that. I like the Astros at home. Give me them on the money line at minus 118. I think that's a fair price. I think Lambert isn't widely viewed as a great pitcher, but he's good enough, and I think he's going to start to surprise some more people.
Speaking of surprises, the over-under in this next one is the surprise for me. 10 for San Diego and Kansas City, two decent under teams. I like the Padres with this one. Michael King on the hill against Seth Lugo, who's had an awful season. You get San Diego, you see there at minus 120. This Royals team is just, they're done. I ain't going to play against them. They've lost 5 in a row, 4-13, their last 18 games, worst record in the American League. I thought they were going to be good this year. I really did. I think them and Cleveland were going to contend in the Central. Well, Cleveland has this Kansas City team, boy, it's just awful, and I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. I'm going to go against them. When I can get the, basically minus 120 pick-em odds to go against Kansas City, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I had hoped that Kansas City would be a wild card-ish team this year. That's what I thought they would be fighting. I also thought the Tigers would be better. I thought we could see, maybe 2 of those teams coming out of the Central, as you pointed out with the Guardians. I thought they'd all kind of be in the mix. Royals would be a wild card team. Here's the issue that I have with this game. The Royals bullpen is terrible. We know the pitching staff is bad. They're dealing with a ton of injuries. We're dealing with a 10 at Kauffman. It's super hot. There's wind blowing out. But man, it is a lot to sell me on that the lowest scoring team in the league, the Padres, are going to help contribute to a 10 over under. So I would take the Padres money line before I take it. It's a bridge too far to get me to bet the Padres in a game that is a 10. I can't do that. I can take their money line, but I'm not betting the over.
Yeah, same here. Padres, number 4 under team in baseball, 53-41-1 under. Listen, everybody beats the Rockies, so I'm not going to go that gaga over this, but Cincinnati is 16-3 against Colorado, their last 19 meetings. Again, probably most teams are, right? And Cincinnati 4-10, their last 14. Another team, last place team that I really thought made the playoffs last year. I really thought they were going to take that next step. In fact, I'm probably more surprised about Cincinnati being a flop than I am Kansas City. I thought with that young pitching staff and everything, if you told me Chase Burns would be 10-1 or whatever it is, 11-1, 10-1, I'd really say, okay, Cincinnati's got to be contending in the awful NL Central, which has turned out to be a good division. But that's not the case. They're in Colorado, start a 3-game set against the Rockies. Basically pick them, as a lot of these series are this week, and you don't really have to lay too much juice on some of these games. Colorado minus 116, I'm seeing on FanDuel. Reds minus 102.
Yeah, it's a good matchup for the Reds. The top portion of that lineup is in a spot to really come out of the break strong and do some damage. And, boy, do they need it, Scott. Like, they are sitting, 8 games back in the NL wildcard race. So they really need to get some offense going. If the Reds have any hope of getting a wild card spot or making it back to the postseason, as you said, like they need to take 2 out of 3 in the series and or sweep the entire series. So if you're a believer in the Reds, getting them at a near even money price is the way to go about it. I would take that. I don't think too highly of Brady Singer. He has been better than I expected for them on the entire season. Gabriel Hughes on the other side for the Rockies. This is just his 3rd MLB start, so extremely small sample size. I can't possibly bet on that. I would bet on the Reds and their team total before I bet on the Rockies.
All right, let me jam this one in here real quickly. St. Louis and Arizona under the play. St. Louis, the number 1 under team in MLB, 51-39-5. Arizona, the number 2 under team in baseball, 51-40-5. Want to go under?
Yeah, Merrill Kelly has been absolutely terrible this year. Among qualified pitchers, or at least among pitchers on tonight's slate, he's the worst with a 5.38 ERA. Obviously, ERA isn't the end all and be all. But I like the Cardinals in this spot. They're overperforming. They got some hitters at the top of the lineup. Jordan Walker coming off the home run derby. I think they get some offense going tonight. Their team total, not the game total.
Right. That's probably a pretty good way to go at it, right? Over-under is not. You're right about Kelly. That Arizona pitching staff is just just not been the same as they once were. Minus 112 is Arizona. St. Louis, minus 104. All right, take a quick little break. We got a couple more. We got some baseball over second half team totals as well. Coming up right here, Game Time Decision.
He gives them a chance, but they've got to keep putting people around him. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know that he's the one that elevates you all by himself. I think he still needs the help. Excellent player, perfect guy to lead your organization, perfect place for it. And by the way, I'd start him from day one. I wouldn't waste any time on it. But got to put pieces around him, and John Spytek has already started doing that.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
This is the third time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done.
Yeah.
He's
Stop
on the
jumping.
He's on the turf, like you said, like he's like driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
All right, welcome back. Game Time Decisions here on a Friday. Scott and Tom running down the baseball schedule. Got some great, including one that just, it can't lose. You know, famous last words, I know. But I got an under that just can't lose. It really can't, right? But 2 more baseball games to preview here real quickly. Washington and the A's. A's had a decent little start to the season, and they surprised some teams. In fact, for a while, they were in first place in the AL West, but boy, they hit the proverbial wall there, Tom. 9 straight losses heading into the All-Star break. You talk about a team like the Red Sox that were, hoping the All-Star break wouldn't come. I'm guessing the A's were just praying for it to get here. 9 straight. They got a better road record than they do at home. They're 19-28 at home, including 1-7 their last 8. Nationals also one of those surprise teams, right? And maybe not, make a playoff spot, but they're hovering around the 500 mark, which is a hell of a lot more than I thought they would be. So, if you had to play the game for me, you want to give me Washington, albeit on the road, I'll take them. FanDuel's got them at minus 136, and the A's at plus 116.
Yeah, really, really good way to put it for both teams. Like the Nats aren't great, but they're doing a lot better than people would expect, and they're scoring a ton. And for the A's, they couldn't wait to get to the break. They could not wait because, to your point, we had a spot, call it 2 weeks before the All-Star break, where we had 4 teams within 2.5, 3 games of the AL West lead. And all of a sudden the A's have just pure downfall for them over the past week and a half prior to the All-Star break. They needed it. Gage Jump has been legitimately good for the Athletics since he got called up. Cade Cavalli for the Nats has also been solid. He can certainly rack up the strikeouts. But man, this entire series this weekend, when I saw this coming out of the break, preparing for this weekend, I keep looking at the series. I'm like, the first team to score 8 runs or 7 runs, every game is going to win because they have horrible pitching staffs. They have horrible bullpens, but man, they can hit the ball. And that park is we're going to see front and center the entire weekend. Runs. So the first team to score 6 should probably win every game.
Yeah, maybe team total. Washington, to your point, Tom, number 1 over team in baseball. The Washington Nationals. Right? People would be like, no way. But they do. Their bullpen is brutal, and their offense can score some runs. 55, 37, and 5. 18 more overs than unders are the Nationals. So last one on the board. It's a low, over-under is 7. San Fran and Seattle. San Fran 9-2 over their last 11 against American League teams, if you want to buy into that. They struggle on the road. And listen, they struggle at home, San Fran, right? 2-7 their last 9. Mariners, limped into the All-Star break as well, 1-5 their last 6. I think most people think that they're going to, get the right to ship there, but so far it hasn't happened. I'm not a big fan of laying $1.84 with a team like that. So it would be Giants or nothing, or like I said, go with the under as we're doing with all these games.
Yeah, it is a really, really tough game to bet and to handicap because everyone agrees the Mariners are a better team. The Giants have been absolutely dreadful this year. The Giants are going to trade off, a number of players, or they should be trading off away a number of players come the trade deadline in a couple of weeks. There's no doubt the Mariners are better. There's no doubt that Bryce Miller is better than Landon Rupp. The minus 184 price, to your point, though, is just not something that I can get behind. So, again, if you're looking for an alternate way to go about it, we spoke about this in terms of Chris Sale with the Braves instead of laying a 2.5, whatever it is, price. If you look to the first 5, it's minus 182. The entire money line for the Mariners minus 184. But if you look to the Mariners, again, laying the half run in the first 5, it's Mariners minus 118, which is a pretty fair price. That's the price that we want. You could also look to the first 5 total runs. If you're saying this is just not going to be a high-scoring game, you can look to the under 3.5. You are getting a little bit of plus money on it. I will say it is juiced pretty decently, minus 140 to the over 3.5 in the first 5. But the Mariners are by far the better team. I'll take them at a minus 118 price, Scott, instead of a minus 180 money line price. Lay the half a run and get minus 118 instead.
All right. I know you're not a big WNBA guy. 4 games on the slate tonight. I mentioned I do like Seattle plus the points at Indiana. I'll give you 2 other games, Tom, that you don't really have to be a WNBA fan if you buy into trends, and I do. Sometimes, right? First one, Atlanta's laying 9.5 against Toronto. I will preface this by saying that was 7.5. And it bumped up to 9.5. And for someone like myself who follows the WNBA a little bit closer than maybe most do, boy, I really don't like betting against line movements in the WNBA. There's so few bettors that when a line moves, boy, I tell you, it's amazing how many times that line movement is right. It really is. But that said, again, kind of pick your trends here, right? That said, Atlanta's 3-6 straight up, and more importantly, 0-9 their last 9 games against the spread. It's been a month and a half or so since they've actually covered a basketball game. Toronto's nothing special, but again, if you like trends, give me Toronto plus the 9.5. I'll winners bet with streaks, losers bet against streaks with that against the spread run by Atlanta.
Yeah, I was looking at the board earlier just to see what action I was going to get on. And late night, Connecticut Sun, Phoenix Mercury, looking to the under in that one. Connecticut, they're barely getting over at 13-11 this year. Phoenix is 12-13. So I'll go with a lack of scoring that one. It's not like we're asking either team to buck their trends and be massively over. I know that we're dealing with a little bit of a lighter number compared to 163.5. I was looking at the Sparks and Chicago Sky over, but that number's already up at 182, and those are 2 of the best total teams going over. So I was a little bit wary on that 182, 183.5 number, wherever it might be. Give me the under when it comes to the late game, Phoenix and Connecticut.
All right. I'll throw one more at you. Sparks and Chicago Sky. Sky's the home favorite, laying 1.5. Over-under is 182.5, which is a pretty decent, that's a pretty high number. But I will tell you, LA, 8-1 over their last 9 games, and Chicago, 7-1 over their last 8. That's a combined 15-2, folks, over. Again, 183 points is a lot of points that you need, but trends say over with this one.
Okay. Like I said, those are 2 of the highest scoring teams in terms of at least over percentage for both. Would you lay the points on the other side? Do you have a take on this? The money line, is close enough. If you like the Sparks, plus 160 on the money line looks good enough to take at this point instead of just taking the 2.5. You can do a little piece of both, but I don't mind a little play on the money line.
Yeah, LA's the better team. Chicago stinks. I'm not comfortable laying 1.5 with Chicago. Having them win anytime is hard enough. So, and then the marquee one is Seattle. I guess marquee would be Seattle and Indiana. But Seattle 3-16 their last 19 games. But they are 6-3, which is why I do like them plus the points tonight. 6-3 their last 9 against the spread. Indiana games have been overinflated. They're one of the worst against the spread teams in the WNBA. So with that one, I do like Seattle. So a couple of baseball over under second half plays that cannot lose.
He gives them a chance, but they've got to keep putting people around him. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know that he's the one that elevates you all by himself. I think he still needs the help. Excellent player, perfect guy to lead your organization, perfect place for it. And by the way, I'd start him from day one. I wouldn't waste any time on it. But got to put pieces around him, and John Spytek has already started doing that.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
This is the third time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done.
Yeah.
He's
Stop
on the
jumping.
Turf. He's on the turf, like you said, like he's like driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day, de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy, crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
Hi, welcome back. It is Game Time Decisions here on a Friday. Scott Wetzel, Tom Vecchio. Last segment here before we turn it over. I got a great over-under baseball. I got a bunch of them, but we don't have that much time, Tom, so I won't bury the lead. How is this one not going to cash, right? Under 71.5 New York Mets team total. Now, if you would have given me that at the beginning of the year, it would have been like, what are you, nuts? How are they not getting 72 wins? But we all know what's happened, right? All right, counting yesterday's win, which we have to, they're 41-57. They're 16 games under 500. That means a team that's 16 games under 500 has to go 31-33 the rest of the way to get to 72 wins. This team's not going 31-33. Plus, they have more road games than home games. Plus, they have 44 of the remaining games against winning teams, including 27 against the Phillies, first place Braves, first place Brewers, first place Devil Dogs, Tampa Bay, and second place in rival New York Yankees. They're not going 31. They're going to be selling any piece that they could possibly sell at the trade deadline. They're way over budget, you know, and they're still 12 games out of a wild card spot with 9 teams to overcome, or 18. They're not going to even challenge for a wild card spot. So how in the world is this team going 31-33 the rest of the way?
So you said 71.5?
Yeah.
For the total? Yeah, I'm seeing 71.5. I'm seeing plus 105 on the under on that. So obviously you need 71 or fewer for that. But man, to me, it's just as simple as, you know, 3 weeks from now or whatever it is, the trade deadline's on August 3rd, wherever that Monday is, they're going to be leaving. They're going to be like, there's going to be a departure of talent from their team. So they're this bad to begin with, and the talent is going to be decreasing on them. Give me the under on that. There's just no way they can be at that sustainable level moving forward with that lack of talent.
Right. Especially, and when you look at their schedule too, they're not playing, you know, they're playing again 44 games against winning teams, all trying for a playoff spot, and then 27 against the powerhouses. I mean, the Dodgers aren't, I guess the Dodgers would be the only team they don't have to play them anymore. But other than that, they got the 5 best teams in baseball, 27
Even
times.
The Nats aren't an easy out. Their Nats are playing well.
Yeah. So there isn't a team on the schedule outside of Colorado in the National League that you say, okay, we should win these games. I mean, that's the boys in Vegas, Tom, just can't getting off the premise of they're supposed to be good and just not accepting that they're not. They're not. I mean, so I love that one. The over I really, really like is over 82.5 Seattle Mariners. There's two of them, really. Over 82.5 Seattle Mariners. Now, they're only 48 and 49. I get that. But the over-under is 82.5. So they need to go 35 and 30 to get to 83 wins. Listen, they only have 6 series against winning teams. And that's going to be the premise with all these American League teams because they all suck, right? But only 16, and they got 16 games against last place teams right now. That's a lot of games against some awful baseball teams. They're good. They should turn things around. 35 and 30 for a decent Mariners team. I don't think he's asking too much. I do like that one a lot.
Okay, the thing that I would say is I'm seeing them right now at, like you said, that number of 82.5 minus 125 to the over. The thing that I would say is the AL West, the odds for them to win the AL West are at minus 110. So if they're not going over 82.5, they're not winning the division. So you might as well just play them at minus 110 since those are just slightly better odds in order for them to win the division. Because if they don't get to 83 wins, they're not winning the division. I think Texas would take it at that point. I think it's that simple because their odds to make the playoffs are minus 230. If they limp in with 81 wins, they don't win the division, and I don't think they make the playoffs. So yes to the over, but just play them at the division at minus 110.
All right. How about over 89.5 Phillies? They're 54 and 43, including the loss yesterday. So they need to go 36 and 29 the rest of the season. 7 games over 500. That's a decent clip, but they're 20 games over 500 under Don Mattingly. Now I know that's not going to be sustainable, and they do have a very difficult record. I realize that, but they're the Phillies. I think they play 7 games over 500 from this point on and get to 90 wins.
I can be on board with that. The Braves are certainly faltering right now, and I will buy into really the magic to some extent that Don Mattingly has brought to the Phillies. And, they've had enough chances. Like, they got to continue to go all chips to the middle and make some moves at the deadline because that trio of Schwarber, Turner, and Harper, that's not going to be around forever. They don't have that many chances left. They need to make some moves and really push for the playoffs. I'm with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and knowing the Braves, they might come back to the pack a little bit. There's no reason for them to, call up the dogs late in the season. So, and that's important with some of these over-unders. So, Tom, great job, man. There's a lot of fun. Quickly, who's going to win tomorrow with the World Cup?
I'll take Spain. Spain over Argentina.
I'll go with the under based on the fact that it's a third-place game, and we don't really care.
Okay,
that
one. I thought you meant the final.
No, well, that too. That too. So, in the final, same thing. It's third place. What's the difference? We'll talk to you next week, guys.
He gives them a chance, but they've got to keep putting people around him. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know that he's the one that elevates you all by himself. I think he still needs the help. Excellent player, perfect guy to lead your organization, perfect place for it. And by the way, I'd start him from day one. I wouldn't waste any time on it. But got to put pieces around him, and John Spytek has already started doing that.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
This is the third time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, come on. After every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done. He's
stop jumping.
He's on the turf, like you said, he's driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.